I lost everything in one afternoon. 10 years at a tech company gone with a single email. I thought my family would be there for me, like I had always been for them. Instead, they turned their backs when I needed them most. But life has a way of coming full circle. 2 years later, my new success had them crawling back desperate for what I could provide. The tables had turned completely. Before I share how I rebuilt my life from nothing and the unexpected way my family came, begging for mercy, let me know which state you are watching from, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to join our community of real-life stories. I still remember the morning before everything fell apart. The San Francisco fog rolled over the bay as I drove my Tesla to work, sipping my $4 coffee without a second thought. At 32 years old, I was a senior software engineer at one of the biggest tech companies in the world. My six-figure salary afforded me a luxury apartment in Pacific Heights designer clothes and the ability to help my family whenever they needed it, and they needed it often. My older brother Jack had a talent for failed business ventures. A food truck that lasted 3 months. A clothing line that never produced a single shirt. A cryptocurrency investment that mysteriously vanished. Each time I was there with my checkbook open. Just until I get on my feet, Norman, he would say. This next idea is going to be huge. My sister Amanda was more practical but equally dependent. With 2 kids in private school, she regularly called about unexpected expenses. The school suddenly needs $3,000 for the science trip, she would explain. I hate to ask, but could you help? I will pay you back next month. Next month never came. My parents were no different after their retirement savings took a hit during the last recession. I paid for their cruise vacations, home repairs, and the occasional medical bill insurance would not cover. I never minded. Family was family, and my success was their success. At least that was what I believed at the time. The first signs of trouble appeared gradually. Rumors of layoffs began circulating through the office. Our stock price dropped 30% in a month. Projects were mysteriously paused. I mentioned my concerns during our monthly family dinner at my parents' house. The company might be in trouble, I said as we finished dessert. There is talk about restructuring. Jack barely looked up from his phone. You worry too much. Tech companies always bounce back. My father nodded in agreement. Your company is too big to fail. Besides, with your experience, you could get a job anywhere. Amanda changed the subject entirely. Speaking of money, Norman Zachary needs a new laptop for school. The one he has is practically ancient. That night, I wrote Amanda a check for $2,000. I ignored the uneasy feeling in my stomach. 2 weeks later, we had another family gathering for my mother's birthday. By then, 3 of my teammates had been laid off. The atmosphere at work had turned grim. I might actually lose my job, I admitted during dinner. The company is cutting deeper than anyone expected. My family exchanged glances. You have saved up right, my mother asked, concern briefly crossing her face. Some, but San Francisco is expensive. If I cannot find something quickly, Jack interrupted with a laugh. Come on, Norman. You make more in a month than most people make in a year. You must have plenty saved. What Jack did not understand was that I had been supporting not just myself, but essentially our entire family. Between the regular loans that were never repaid and the monthly assistance I provided to our parents, my savings were not what they should have been. I might need to cut back on helping out for a while, I said carefully. Just until things stabilize. The silence that followed was deafening. My father cleared his throat. We are counting on you for the property tax payment next month, he said. We budgeted with that in mind. Amanda looked panicked. And I need help with summer camp deposits next week. It was the first time I felt the weight of their expectations as a burden rather than a privilege. Still, I promised to figure something out. Family was family, after all. The layoff, when it came, was brutally efficient. A Tuesday morning meeting with human resources. A prepared speech about company restructuring and difficult decisions. A severance package that would cover 3 months of expenses if I was extremely careful. My desk belongings in a cardboard box. My badge deactivated before I reached the parking garage. 10 years of my life ended in 15 minutes. I sat in my car for an hour too shocked to drive. When I finally picked up my phone, I had 3 missed calls from Jack. My first thought was that he had somehow heard the news and was calling to offer support. Norman, thank God you called back, Jack said when I returned his call. I need $15,000 by Friday, or these investors are going to pull out of the deal. I felt like I was drowning. Jack, I just lost my job. Literally an hour ago. A pause. Damn, that is rough. But you will land on your feet. You always do. About that money. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I called Amanda next, needing anyone to understand what I was going through. Norman, I am in the middle of a parent-teacher conference, she whispered. Can we talk later? I lost my job, Amanda. Oh, that is terrible. Another whisper. Then listen, can we discuss this tonight? I really need to get back to this meeting. My parents were equally distant. My mother expressed sympathy, but quickly pivoted to concern about their own financial situation. My father suggested I had been too complacent, too comfortable in my role. Perhaps this is the push you needed to really advance your career, he said, as if being laid off was somehow a positive development. The next few weeks were a blur of rejection. I applied for every software engineering position I could find. I had 12 interviews that led nowhere. The tech industry was contracting and experienced. Engineers were a dime a dozen. Younger candidates would work for less. Startups wanted specific experience I did not have. Large companies were implementing hiring freezes. Meanwhile, my bank account dwindled at an alarming rate. I sold my Tesla, first replacing it with a used Honda that cost a tenth of the price. I put my apartment up for sublet and moved to a studio in a less desirable neighborhood. I canceled subscriptions, stopped eating out, and sold electronics I did not absolutely need. Through it all, my family maintained a polite distance. Jack stopped calling once he realized I truly could not help with his latest venture. Amanda became perpetually busy whenever I suggested getting together. My parents called less and less, our conversations growing shorter and more strained. The final blow came 3 months after my layoff. My severance had run out. I had exactly $2,300 in my bank account and no job prospects. I swallowed my pride and called Jack. I need a loan. I said, the words bitter in my mouth. Just enough to cover rent while I figure things out. Jack sighed heavily. Norman, I am really stretched thin right now. The business is at a critical stage. I cannot spare anything. I have given you over $50,000 in the past 2 years. I reminded him, my voice tight with disbelief. That was different. You were doing well then. Look, have you tried selling more of your stuff? That watch collection of yours must be worth something. I hung up again, called Amanda, got her voicemail, called my parents. We wish we could help, my mother, said, her voice gentle but firm. But we are on a fixed income. We barely have enough for ourselves. I reminded her of the cruise I had paid for just 6 months earlier. The kitchen renovation. The new car. That was your choice, my father interjected, his tone hardening. Nobody forced you to spend your money that way. Perhaps if you had been more responsible with your finances, you would not be in this position. The betrayal cut deep. For years I had been their safety net, their backup plan, their emergency fund. Now that I was the one in crisis, they had nothing to offer but judgment. My Uncle Thomas was the only one who showed genuine concern. He offered his guest room in Oakland, until I found my footing again. I was preparing to accept when he called back, apologetic and uncomfortable. Your parents and Jack think it would be enabling you, he explained awkwardly. They say you need to figure this out on your own. I am sorry, Norman. The final humiliation came in the form of a family meeting. Jack organized it, texting that everyone was concerned about me and wanted to help. Desperate for any support, I agreed to meet at my parents' house. I arrived to find Jack, Amanda, and my parents sitting at the dining table with solemn expressions. The intervention atmosphere was unmistakable. Norman, Jack began assuming the role of family spokesman. We are worried about your situation. This has gone on for months now. We think you are not taking this seriously enough, Amanda added. You should have found something by now. My mother reached across to pat my hand. Darling, have you considered less? Prestigious positions. Maybe retail or restaurant work until something better comes along. My father was more direct. You have assets you could liquidate. That luxury watch collection, your designer clothes, the high-end furniture and storage. It hit me then. They were not there to help me. They were there to figure out how I could keep helping them. Jack confirmed it moments later. Once you sort yourself out, we need to discuss the family finances. Mom and Dad need a new water heater, and Amanda has the kids' tuition coming up. I looked at their expectant faces. These people who had taken, and taken for years, who now sat in judgment of me at my lowest point. Something inside me broke. Get out, I said quietly. Jack blinked. What? Get out of my parents' house. We are trying to help you. No, I stood up slowly. You are trying to figure out how to keep using me as your personal ATM. None of you have offered actual help. Not once. You have just been waiting for me to bounce back, so you can keep taking. Amanda looked offended. That is not fair. We are family. Family, I laughed the sound hollow. Family shows up when things get hard. Where were any of you when I needed support? Emotional support, not even financial. You have always been dramatic, my father said dismissively. This attitude will not solve anything. No, what will solve things is me walking away from all of you until you learn what family actually means. I left them sitting there, their shocked expressions, the last thing I saw before closing the door behind me. The next morning, I woke up in my small studio apartment with $500 to my name and no family to rely on. The weight of that reality nearly crushed me. For hours, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how everything had fallen apart so completely. Rock bottom has a clarity to it. When you have nothing left to lose, decisions become simpler. I forced myself up, showered, and made a plan. I would take any job that would pay the rent. I would rebuild from nothing if I had to. That afternoon, while applying for barista positions at local coffee shops, I ran into Justin, an old college friend I had not seen in years. We had been close once before careers and life took us in different directions. Norman, is that you? Justin looked genuinely happy to see me, a stark contrast to how my own family had been treating me. Over coffee, I told him everything. The layoff, the financial struggle, the family betrayal. I expected pity, but Justin nodded with understanding. I went through something similar a few years back, he said. Different circumstances, same lesson. People show you who they really are, when you cannot do anything for them anymore. Justin had rebounded from his own crisis, and now ran a small startup developing supply chain management software. Nothing glamorous, but stable and growing. Look, I cannot offer you anything close to what you were making before, he said. But we need a good developer, and you are one of the best I know. The salary would cover your basic expenses while you figure things out. It was the first genuine offer of help I had received since losing my job. I accepted on the spot. The job with Justin was a lifeline, but the real value came from our conversations. Justin had experienced his own family, taking advantage of his success, and he shared the painful lessons he had learned. You have to establish boundaries, he told me one evening as we worked late. Being generous is great, but not when it comes at the cost of your own well-being, and not when it creates dependency rather than growth. I realized how much I had enabled my family problems. By always being the one to solve their financial crises, I had prevented them from developing their own resilience and responsibility. My help meant with love had actually hurt them in the long run. The hardest part was acknowledging my own role in the dynamic. I had defined my self-worth by being the provider, the successful one, the problem solver. Without that identity, who was I? You are still figuring that out, Justin said when I shared this thought. And that is okay. Over the next few months, I lived more simply than I had since college. My tiny apartment had just the essentials. I cooked instead of ordering takeout. I took public transportation. I sold my remaining luxury items and used the money to pay down debts. I also began freelancing on the side, building my own client base separate from the work with Justin. Small projects at first, then larger ones as my reputation grew. 6 months into this new life, Justin approached me with an opportunity. The supply chain software his company developed had potential beyond their current market. He wanted to pivot the business and expand, but needed a technical partner he could trust. I am offering you the CTO position and 20% equity, he said. The salary still will not match your old one, but if we succeed, it was a risk. The company might fail like so many startups do. But something about the challenge energized me in a way my prestigious tech job never had. This was building something from the ground up, creating actual value rather than just collecting a paycheck. I am in, I told him. The next year was the hardest I had ever worked. 16-hour days, 7-day weeks. No vacations, no luxuries, barely any sleep. Justin and I poured everything into developing our product, refining it based on customer feedback, and pitching to potential clients. Slowly, the company grew. 5 employees became 15, then 30, then 50. Our client list expanded from local businesses to national companies. Revenue increased month over month. We moved from a cramped co-working space to real offices. Through it all, I maintained my distance from my family. They tried reaching out occasionally, especially around holidays, but their messages always contained hints of financial need. I responded politely but briefly, never engaging beyond surface-level pleasantries. I was building not just a new career, but a new life. One based on authentic connections and mutual respect, rather than obligation and dependency. I made real friends for the first time in years, people who wanted my company rather than my resources. 18 months after joining Justin, our company was acquired by a major corporation for a sum that left us both speechless. My 20% stake translated to several $1 million more money than I had ever imagined possessing. The news made the industry rounds quickly. My phone began buzzing with congratulatory messages, including ones from names I had not heard from in a long time. Jack called first. "Norman, I just heard the amazing news. I always knew you would land on your feet. We should celebrate." Before I could respond, he continued, "Actually, I have been working on this incredible new business idea. Revolutionary, really. I would love to discuss it with you. Get your input, as a successful entrepreneur now." Amanda texted next. "So proud of you, brother. The kids have been asking about their Uncle Norman. We should get together soon. By the way, Zachary got accepted to that prestigious summer program we talked about years ago. Such a wonderful opportunity." My parents called together, their tone warm and conciliatory. "We always had faith in you," my mother said, as if the intervention and their rejection had never happened. "We are so proud. And we would love to see you," my father added. "Perhaps you could come for dinner this weekend. We have missed you terribly." I agreed to the dinner, curious to see if anything had really changed. I had no intention of resuming my role as the family financial savior, but part of me hoped that our time apart had given them perspective. The welcome I received was effusive. Hugs, exclamations over how good I looked, my mother's favorite meal prepared. It felt like coming home until the conversation inevitably turned. "So," Jack said, trying to sound casual about that business idea I mentioned. "And the summer program," Amanda added quickly. "The deadline for the deposit is next week." My father cleared his throat. "We were also hoping to discuss the possibility of moving to a better neighborhood. This house has gotten so difficult to maintain at our age." Nothing had changed. I was still just a resource to them, a solution to their problems, a checkbook with legs. "No," I said quietly. "What was that, dear?" my mother asked. I said no. "I am not giving any of you money." The shocked silence was almost comical. Jack recovered first. "Come on, Norman. After everything the family has done for you, what exactly has the family done for me? Where were you when I lost my job, when I was about to be evicted, when I had nothing left?" "That was different," Amanda protested. "We were all struggling then. And now I am doing well again, so the ATM is back in service." "That is not how this works anymore." My father frowned. "You have always been generous with your success. Why the sudden change of heart?" "It is not sudden. I have had 18 months to think about our family dynamic, about how I enabled dependency instead of growth, about how quickly you all turned your backs when I needed support." I looked at each of their faces. "I am willing to rebuild our relationship, but not on the old terms. If you want me in your lives, it will be because you value me as a person, not what I can give you." "Are you saying you will never help your own family again?" my mother asked, tears welling in her eyes. "I am saying help needs to look different now. I will invest in growth, not subsidize dependency. I will support education and opportunity, not bailouts for poor decisions." I outlined my terms. I would set up education funds for Amanda children that could only be used for tuition. I would invest in Jack business if he completed a business management course and presented a viable plan vetted by independent advisors. I would help my parents with a reasonable monthly stipend, not blank checks for luxury purchases. These are my boundaries, I concluded. Take them or leave them. That conversation happened 6 months ago. It was not an easy transition for any of us, but slowly things began to change. Jack actually completed the business course and came back with a much more reasonable venture idea. Amanda started budgeting properly for the first time in her adult life. My parents adjusted their expectations and began showing interest in my life beyond my financial situation. Our relationships have improved, though they are still fragile. We are learning how to be family without money as the central connection. Sometimes we slip into old patterns, but now I recognize the signs and can gently redirect us. The greatest victory was not my business success or financial recovery. It was reclaiming my self-worth from the external validation I had been seeking. My value is not determined by what I can give others, but by who I am and the boundaries I maintain. If you have family members who only value you for what you provide, remember that real love is not transactional. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling harmful patterns even when it feels cruel in the moment. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with loved ones? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who is struggling with similar family dynamics. And if you found value in my journey, please like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories about overcoming challenges. Thank you for listening, and remember, your worth is not measured by what you give, but by the integrity with which you live.